Hello, welcome to another Java tutorial. Today we are going to be going over casting. Now, what is casting? Casting is basically just converting a certain data type to a different data type. So, for example, let's say we have the data type int, for example. We have int, let's say we have x, and we name this to 5. Then after this, we can have, let's say we have a double. We'll name this y, and we'll equal this to, we'll do a 5.5, for example. Now, let's not have this 5.5. Let's say that I have the int x, which is 5, but I want to convert it into a double. Now, this is easily done, because as we can just do x, and then if we print out both of them, so if we print out x, and then if we print out y, you can see that we get 5 as x, and then whenever we convert the integer into a double, we can get 5.0. So it's easy to convert, or to cast, smaller types to larger data types. So for what I mean by that is, if the data type is smaller, so byte is the very smallest data type, it's very easy to convert the smaller data type into a bigger data type. So in this example here, you can see we converted int into a double, which is very easily done because int is smaller than double. So if you want to convert something that's smaller into a bigger data type, you can literally just assign double to any single one of these data types, just like this, as the equal sign. Now, if we do it the other way around, let's say we have a double and we want to convert it into something smaller, so like an int, for example, we'll have to do this thing called narrowing casting. So let's use another example here. So let's say we have let's start off with double. So this is the biggest one that we have. If I do double, so we do x, and we equal this to 9.78, and then we need to do d for decimal. So let's say we have this double. Now we can't use the same way that we did before. So we do int y is equal to x. You can see we are getting an error. The reason for this is because we are trying to convert a bigger data type into a smaller data type, which we can't use this method. If we were trying to convert a smaller data type into a bigger data type, then that will be possible. But because we're doing it the other way around, we need to cast it. And the way that we cast it is we have an int y, which we want to equal to x, and simply what we do is, in brackets here, we do whatever we want to convert it to. So now we are saying we want to convert x into an int and store it in y. Now you'll see whenever we print this out, see the very first one is 9.78, which is x, which is 9.78, and then we set x to an integer and we store it in y, and then whenever we print it out, we get 9. The reason for 9 is because integers can only be full numbers, they can't be decimals or, stuff like that. So integers can only be full numbers. So that's how you convert. You can convert, so I'll just say this again, you can convert data types from smaller to bigger very easily. You just have to do the equal sign. But if it's the other way around, if you want to convert a bigger data type into a smaller one, you'll have to just add this, and that's the way you cast bigger values to smaller values. Now I'm going to change this up. We're going to get away from this, and let's say I want to convert a integer or an int into a string, for example. So let's say I have an int and I have age, and I equal that to 20. But now I want to convert this age integer into a string. and I will just name it age string or something like that. And if I do age, you can see we are getting an error because we can't really set an integer as a string. So there is a way that we can convert or cast it. This isn't really called casting, but we can convert this integer into a string. Now, how do we do that? So we have our data type, which is string, and then we have a name for it. Now we want to convert this into a string. The way we do this is we write integer dot to string, and then we have age. So now what? And you can see we are getting no errors here. And now whenever we print this out, we do age string. We run this, it'll get displayed as 20. Now this is an integer, but now the output that we got here is a string. So this is no longer an integer, it's a string. So this is how you convert an int to a string, and we can also do it vice versa, of course. So let's say we have a string, for example. Now this will not work. This way will work. The way that I'm going to show you is now it has to be done in a way, basically. So let's say we have a string. We name the string to 25, and then let's say string. We'll just do string x is equal to 25. Now let's say I want to convert this into the integer y, for example. How do we do that? Can we do this x? Not really. No. We gotta use. It's just a bit different to this, but the way we will do this is we have int y is equal to, and then we do the same way, integer dot. Now instead of dot to string, what we'll do is we'll do parse int, and then we will pass in the value of the string to x. And now if we print this out, y, see we get 25. I'm gonna comment this. See, we get 25 because firstly it was a string, which is equal to 25, and then we want to set it to an integer with the value with the name of y. So we do integer dot parse the int, and then we pass in the value of the string, and then this will get converted into an integer, which will be stored in y. So this is no longer a string. It was declared as a string here, as you can see, but because we converted it into an int, 25 here is now an int. Now the only thing I will say, whenever you convert anything from a string to an int, that value of the string should be possible to have as an int. So for example, an integer can only store whole numbers. It can't store words, for example. So let's say if we have the name Bob, if you run this, you can see we get an error. Because we are trying to store a word, or the name, in our case Bob, into an integer, it's going to give us an error. Because an integer cannot store the value, like a word. It can only store numbers. So that's why we're going to get this error. And another reason as well, we can't give it like a big number, like let's say this. Run it. And we can. Never mind, I think this needs to just be a bit bigger. And yeah, there you go. The reason is because this is way too big for an integer to handle. An integer can only we can only store a range of values in it, and this value is way too big to be stored in an int. So that's just the two things you got to take into consideration. You can't store. You can't convert a string with a value that integer cannot support, and you cannot convert a name into an int because it just cannot store it. So yeah, so that was a very quick video on casting and just converting from int to string and vice versa. I hope you enjoyed.